I got so excited on all the Stand By Me talk that I just went off there. Look at all these people They're bringing in their famous quotes from that show. Do you remember that show, Farhan?
A little bit. I watched the movie, but it was a while ago. I don't think I could pull out any lines from it. I've been too busy prepping for Stamps and Riders, buddy.
What do you think happens tomorrow in that one?
Well, more importantly, what happens tonight is that I'm having dinner with your broadcast crew, right, with Luke and Dave and Mike, and we're sending you the bill. Just so you know.
You send away. That doesn't mean you ain't going to get paid.
Luke said, Barney will handle it. It won't be a problem.
Luke owes me.
Well, look, I'm just wondering if that last game can repeat itself. And I'm picking the Riders to win this one. But, what happened in that first game when these two teams played, right? Number one, there's obviously not going to be a one-day delay here because of air quality. But Calgary did what no other team has been able to do, and that is stop AJ Ouellette on first down, right? Like, they were able to take Saskatchewan's running game away and kind of really dictate how Saskatchewan had to play offensively. And they got into a lot of second and long situations. Can they do that again? Look, I love Jalen Hutchings, that defensive tackle. I think he's been outstanding for them. Is it going to be enough? We'll see. The other side of it is when you and also Flo Rimolade as well, who's been really important for that defense. So is that going to be enough to do that again? I don't know. I think Saskatchewan's going to make every possible effort to show their physicality and how they play. And the other side is that Vernon Adams was really able to push the ball down the field and hit some deep shots. And Saskatchewan hasn't given up a lot of those. I mean, they've given up some passing yards, but not necessarily the number of deep balls that they gave up in that game. And then on top of that, Damien Alford's back. So that's a big deal for Calgary. But you lose Dominic Rhymes, you lose Tevin Jones. So that really shrinks the available viable targets for Vernon Adams in this game. So, we'll see if both quarterbacks can go for 400 yards again. I think that's going to be tough.
Damien Alford, I think that was kind of more his coming out party. He played really well the week before, but then he really showed up in that delayed game in Regina here. Do you think the Riders can use what they did last week in a way against Lawler, against Hamilton, A, for confidence, and B, for game plan and how they kind of played him high-low and with Tavon Campbell out there?
You know what? I don't know that they're going to do that, right? I think Dedrick Mills is probably a bigger problem, and containing Vernon Adams is also a bigger problem. And as much as I like Alford and as much as I like Philpott, neither one of them are Kenny Lawler. Neither one of them require that level of attention. So I don't know that they need to necessarily pay that kind of attention. I mean, can both those guys win contested balls? Sure. But in terms of route running and what they're doing, I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So I would be surprised if Saskatchewan made those guys as big a priority as they made Kenny Lawler last week.
Farhan, hello, by the way. What do you make of the quarterbacking matchup tomorrow? It's a marquee matchup team-wise, but if you look at the quarterbacks, we're talking about two who are in the conversation for most outstanding player, as was the case last week when the Roughriders played Hamilton and Trevor Harris and Bo Levi Mitchell.
Yeah, and I love both these guys. I'm a big fan of Trevor and Vernon, not just as players, but personally. They're super guys, and they're great for the league. Team first guys, but guys that can beat you in a lot of different ways. When you look at a guy like Trevor Harris, for years we've been accustomed to saying, okay, well, this is a guy that just gets the ball out of his hands quick. Well, do you know both these quarterbacks are tied for the league lead in completions over 30 yards with 19 each? Trevor Harris is showing that he can beat you a lot of different ways. And one of the things that he pointed out to me that was a real surprise, this is the first time in 7 years that he's had the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back seasons. So he's so much more comfortable in Mark Mueller's offense and what the next evolution of what that looks like in year two, as opposed to just learning another offense again, right? And with Vernon Adams, it's been different because he's now gone to a different offense, and he's got a first-time offensive coordinator in Pat Delmonico. I think he figured when he was going to go there that he was going to get Bo Baldwin and Dave Dickinson, but he's got Pat, and I think Pat's done a really good job of how he's managed games. And both these quarterbacks can lean on running games. Both these quarterbacks, I went through the roster for Calgary. Like, Saskatchewan's got the most continuity of any team in the league. We know that Calgary's completely turned over its defense, but it's turned over big pieces of their offense, but not their offensive line. Both teams are playing behind really, really comfortable and confident offensive lines, and I think that's also leading to a bit of their success.
You had said earlier this year, I believe on this program, Farhan, that if Trevor Harris stays healthy for most of the season, all of the season, we could be talking about most outstanding player. Again, that conversation is already percolating near mid-season. Is anything you're seeing this season so far surprise you in light of what you had projected before the season even began?
Yeah, probably the deep ball, to be quite honest with you. And that's not to suggest that I think Trevor can't do that. He can, but it's just at that stage of your career, are you willing to play the game differently? And we're seeing Bo Levi Mitchell do it differently, and we're seeing Trevor Harris do it differently. And one of the things, I know Trevor's quarterback coach, who's based in North Vancouver very well. His name's Rob Williams. He also works closely with Nathan Rourke, and he works closely with my son. And so I've had a chance to get to know Rob for a while. And what he does is he essentially harnesses power for quarterbacks in a much more efficient way, so that you can push the ball without trying to put your entire body into it. There's a real science to kind of how he teaches it, and I think Trevor, full credit to him at this stage of his career, has decided to invest in that and to attempt to do it differently. And I can see the way Trevor does it. His mechanics are different now, and it's so difficult for quarterbacks to adopt different mechanics at this stage of his career. So he's been able to find new power in a different way. And, now you don't need to just step in and hitch in to make deeper throws, right? He can just do it within the confines of what he's doing. So I think that's been remarkable at 39 years of age for Trevor to implement that into his game at this stage.
Only one sack in the last game for the Riders. Sacks aren't everything and all that. But are we safe to say here as we sit in, August 22nd, is the Rider defense intimidating?
Well, I think that defensive line is pretty intimidating. When you look at their top four guys, they've got 18 sacks between them. So it's your inside guys, your outside guys. It doesn't really matter. They've all got the ability to play. I mean, Micah Johnson having a rebirth with 5 sacks right now. I mean, he's not just a two-gap player that can draw double teams. He can push the pocket and eventually finish, right? And Mike Rose playing alongside of him, that's been unbelievable. And then, you look at the guys on the edges. Carney is playing his best football of his career, and then Shane Ray on the other side. And then they've got depth pieces. So, I think their linebackers are fine. Their secondary is good. They're not drawing as many turnovers. They're not generating as many turnovers as they would. But if you want to deal with that D-line, they can get pressure with 4, and they can take away the run with 4. So that D-line is intimidating, if not the entire defense. Last game,
I think, could be the stat of the year for me is how A.J. Ouellette was held to under 10 yards, to 9 yards. Like, it's baffling. I don't know if Mr. Vanstone here heard any of the conversations throughout the week, but there's got to be a challenge put out to that offensive line, to a man from the coaches, to say, you guys need to bully them this time. We need to run the ball, to your point that they need yards on the first down.
Yeah, you're right. And, Corey Mays talked about that with us earlier in the week as we were getting ready for the broadcast. So just that physicality, that's our DNA, and we didn't show it in that game. Yeah. And you have to, right? Like, people talk about how teams defend the run, right? Like, the thought of defending the run happens in a few different ways. And number one, it's, can you get out to a big lead, right? And when you look at what Calgary did in that game, hitting those deep shots, that as much as anything else, in the first quarter, they did some good things up front, but then they got a lead. And that's how you stop the run, force teams to throw the ball because they're playing catch-up. And I just don't know that Calgary's going to be able to have that level of success pushing the ball down the field the way they did in that game. And that, as much as anything, can change the way you play the game, and it allows you to lean on the run. Look at what Winnipeg does, right? Winnipeg just stays in football games, right? And they're not really explosive offensively anymore, but they stay close in football games so that Brady Oliveira can carry the ball in the fourth quarter. And that's what I think Saskatchewan wants to do here, right? Stay close in this game so that you can still continue to lean on A.J. Ouellette for 4 quarters, not get out of it before halftime.
Well, Farhan, why do you think it is that in a league that's often referred to as a pass-first league, a wide-open league, that the run game has become so important?
Well, I think that teams, again, they want to keep their running backs involved. And it's not always in the run game, but just keep those players active. So whether it's Ouellette out of the backfield or a guy like James Butler in BC who's done it both ways, I think that's really important. So it's not necessarily, Rob, the reemergence of the running game, but it's the reemergence of the running back. And that's so important, especially in a league where quarterbacks do generally want to get the ball out of their hands quickly. Sometimes it's going to be, if you can get teams in man coverage, can you take advantage of a matchup with a running back on a linebacker? And, so I think we're seeing that with Ouellette. I think we're seeing that with Dedrick Mills here. I think we're seeing that with Butler in BC. And those are the teams that allow themselves to stay balanced. If you can stay balanced, you can have success for 4 quarters of a football game.
Should we ask you about the kicking situation in Saskatchewan and Brett Lauther?
It's going to catch him at some point, and Brett Lauther over his career has proven to be a good kicker, but we understand that kicking is mental. And right now, Brett Lauther isn't necessarily as confident as he's been in previous years, right? So I know they brought an additional kicker in this week to provide some competition, and we'll see what that turns into. But if you're Saskatchewan, this is good. Like, this matters, right? Like, you can't just be blindly loyal. You have to find ways to create competition throughout your lineup. And, what does they say? Pressure builds diamonds, right? So
yeah.
We'll see if that happens in the kicking situation. But, 2/3 being a 67% field goal team, that's just not good enough.
This could be a yes and no question, but I've asked everyone this week this: if the Riders are 4-4 going into this game, would it be different, do you think? Would we have a different kicker?
Yeah. But they've been able to ride it out, right? They've been able to. The other 2 phases of their team have been so good that the kicking game hasn't really been the difference maker. But at some point, it's going to be.
I should point out, though, all of this is emanating from a game in which Brett Lauther kicked a 59-yard field goal. And I don't think that can or should be discounted.
It should be. It should be, Rob. Don't let the dessert get in the way of the main course. 2 for 5 is not good enough, right?
I'm more the 66%.
And Brett will be the first person Brett will be the first person to say that. But it seems like the 59-yarder, which has happened only 4 times in Rough Rider history, and not that often in CFL history, is being conveniently brushed to the side.
Yeah, I think it's candy. I truly do. You look at Castillo in Winnipeg. He's hit a couple over 60 yards, right? But you've got to, if you go back, and not that they've got necessarily an option there that has been a problem all year, but he needed to make the winning field goal, which was shorter. And you've got Mike O'Shea in that game deciding to take a shot with a 57-yarder. Like, you're not going to hit those game after game, play after play. It's the 47-yarder that matters more because you're going to get those opportunities to do it more. And so I would take consistency over the 59-yarder anytime.
And I would also speak up for his body of work. This is somebody who throughout his time with the Riders hit 82% of his field goals. So we're talking about a pretty small fragment of time compared to the body of work, which I think serves him well, and I think will continue to do so.
How long is the leash?
Well, look, I think it'll be very long. You first asked me, I said that when you first asked the question, that, like I said, his body of work at the Riders is important. That's why he's here for this. That's why he's been able to stay here as long as he has been. But 9 games is a reasonable sample size. You don't run from that. And so as you get closer to the playoffs, he's going to have to improve, or they're going to have a decision to make.
The game Ottawa Edmonton, loser goes home match, like the old WWF days.
Yeah, we're getting to that point, aren't we? Right? Edmonton could play themselves back into it.
Yeah.
With a win here, and if BC wins and Winnipeg just won, like 5th place is not going to get you a wild card, right? One of those teams is going to be the wild card front runner. So if Edmonton wants any shot at this, they've got to do it. Whereas if you're Ottawa, you still could potentially catch Montreal. Now, I think the second Davis Alexander comes back, and I would imagine it's probably going to be that 3rd week of September. I don't know that I would play him against Saskatchewan with that defensive line and force him to run more. But when Davis Alexander gets back, I think Montreal is going to be an entirely different team. But until that happens and they continue to stumble here, I think there's more at stake for Edmonton right now than there is for Ottawa.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with this question, NFL style. Where's where's Parsons playing football this year?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't know where he's going to wind up, but day by day here, Jerry Jones just looks worse and worse and worse because his players that he's got signed, the Dak Prescotts, the CeeDee Lambs, they're tired of this. And we're now a week and a half from opening day. So even if they sign Micah Parsons today, when he plays on opening night, he's not going to be able to play as much as he otherwise would. So right now, Jerry Jones has compromised his team's ability to win on opening night, which is going to be hard enough against the defending Super Bowl champs on Thursday Night Football. So you're alienating a lot of people in that room if you're Jerry Jones.
He's got to be looking for property in Foxborough. Even something to rent. They got lots of money. There for Farhan. I love it. Okay. Have a good time tomorrow in Calgary. We'll catch up next week. Go Riders.
Rob, always look forward to talking to you. Enjoyed it. And Barney, we'll send you the bill, buddy.
Yeah.
All the best, Farhan.
Send away.